So I do appreciate the title of this video might seem a little bit overly dramatic, but could it be a real possibility at some point in the future with these cars, the Porsche Taycan? Now, this is your video. I'd love to hear from you in the comments. If you bought one of these from new, as a private buyer, or indeed as a business buyer, have you been put off? Have you been burnt by the financials? Is it something that you're not comfortable getting on board with again? Does it just not stack up for you anymore? Please do get involved in the comments, because I really would love to hear from you. Your experiences, you're what makes these videos, and I will try to respond to all the comments where possible, as always, but really appreciate your support of the channel. Now, I do think Porsche are in a bit of a conundrum with this car right now. They've got a bit of a pickle on their hands because of the situation that we're in. Now, we have looked at this in previous videos, but it is a never-changing landscape in EV land right now, almost on a daily basis. And I have heard from a lot of folk who have these that they're just kind of saying, I'm done with having this car. I've been hurt too much in the past, and I'm just going to look at something else going forward. So it is a very challenging situation for sure right now, and I think Porsche do have their strategy a little bit wrong with this car right now. And I appreciate I'm just a bloke in a Taycan, you know, I don't have any influence over the market, but I hope I do represent the general feeling and consensus of a lot of owners, buyers of these cars, and just kind of where their head is at right now with the Taycan. Now, first up, we've got to look at the facelift and what that's brought to the table. Yes, massive increases in terms of range, in terms of performance, in terms of battery capacity, in terms of the chassis as well. And we should have one of those on the channel very soon. So do subscribe, do keep peeled for that content. But it also offers, unfortunately, quite significant price hikes as well. And that for me is the first thorn in the side of this as a platform. And Porsche understanding who they need to appeal to with this car. Now, a bit of a surprise for you. What was the highest selling car worldwide in 2023? A combustion car, right? Surely. No, it wasn't actually. It was the Tesla Model Y, an EV. First time we've seen one at the top of that list. They shifted 1.15 million of the things, and judging by the amount I've seen on the roads in the UK, I am not surprised. But that is a transition I think we'll start to see more of, potentially more EVs appearing in that list and more combustion cars gradually moving down as this change is kind of forced upon us whether we like it or not. And of course the proliferation of EVs from the Chinese market as well, trade tariffs aside. Now, it was a bit of a surprise for me to see that, but from a UK perspective, I believe the Ford Puma was at the top, combustion car, and it's going to be a long time before we see an EV at the top of that list, I think, in my head anyway, purely because in the UK you have a sentiment that people aren't really sure about EVs just yet, and a lot of them backing away, and that is the point of this video. Is it something that you're happy to get on board with? Have you been on board with it already and decided, you know what, I think I need to take a step back, have a bit of a breather on this and get back into a combustion car for a while, as a lot of folk are doing. Now, the price increases on some of the models are significant, especially this one, the Taycan Turbo S. When I picked this car up, it was in the mid 130s. It is now £161,000 to get on board with the Turbo S, which is about a 16% or so price hike, which is a lot. And also the finance right now just is makes your brain, it doesn't make any sense, but apart from that, it actually makes your brain hurt when you see the numbers, certainly in the UK. And this is the first pickle that Porsche have on their hands with this car right now. I just don't know how many new ones they're going to be shifting. It may be that they do quite well and businesses are still buying them. We know about 90% of those cars are through businesses, and it's still a great proposition, but equally it might not do so well, and this remains to be seen. The facelift is only just starting to drop into showrooms and get out there into the wide open world. But across the board, whether it's the Taycan, the 4S, the Turbo or the Turbo S, you've seen price hikes. GTS isn't around yet, that follows a bit further down the line. And this is the other problem that I think we've got. Porsche, do they really understand who this car is supposed to appeal to? I'm not sure they really do. Now, every Porsche fanatic I've spoken to who has a combustion Porsche really doesn't like the Taycan. There is the odd exception, people I've heard from who have a lot of Porsche combustion cars also really love the Taycan and just keep getting new ones. That's cool, but that is an absolute minority, definitely. The majority of combustion petrol heads don't like this car, and that's fine, right? Porsche aren't going to appeal to those folk with this car. They have to appeal to other folk who are willing to get on board with EVs. And does the Taycan stack up against the ever-increasing competition that we see in the market right now? More models being brought to market, getting cheaper and cheaper by the day. The Turbo S doesn't really have any competition because of its price point. There are other EVs that are just as powerful, just as fast, just as rapid. For sure, they're not Porsches. They might not handle as well. They might not have the cachet, the looks, but some of them are half price, you know. Certainly the Plaid. If you look at the Lotus offerings now, the Emea and the Electra, they are, I think, about 120 for the most expensive, which is the same power as the Taycan Turbo S. So there is cars out there that make the Turbo S at that price point completely uncompetitive, I think, right? Add to that the current economic situation we're in, higher list prices, higher depreciation, higher finance costs. It is just not looking that great at the moment. And a lot of people say, well, if you can't afford a car, you shouldn't buy it. It's not about affording the car, it's about affording the finance. Finance is a great enabler for procurement for everyone out there in the world. It helps people get on board with things they might not necessarily be able to. It funds new businesses, startups. Finance is a good thing, and it should be utilised as something which is going to give you a leg up in many situations. I know a lot of folk who simply wouldn't have a house had it not been for the ability to finance it, myself included, and probably you watching as well. If not, then well done. Lucky you. But it is a great enabler of things, right? But finance companies have to, of course, be responsible, and they are very responsible now. We all saw what happened during that wonderful subprime financial crisis, right, where they weren't being very responsible. Now there's a lot of regulation to ensure that they are very responsible and doing the right checks, due diligence, etc. So it is absolutely a good thing, finance, right, and shouldn't be sniffed at. If you can't afford a car, you shouldn't get it. Well, no, I disagree. But that is just some of the reasons why I think that the Taycan right now is looking like it might be in a bit of a conundrum. Also, we've got plenty of other exciting platforms coming down the road, right, from an EV perspective. We've spoken about the PPE, the Macan, and also the Boxster. And I think it's just going to get ever more exciting. And I really do want to see what Porsche will be doing with this. Now, what I think will happen is you'll start to see showrooms hopefully deplete the stock of used pre-facelift Taycans as people get on board with them, and Porsche and the market, quite frankly, just wants them off the forecourts and into owners' hands. And more people realise that, you know what, once they've taken one out for a drive, it's a great platform, a great car to get on board with, for sure. And they are brilliant, you know, everything else aside, just an awesome car. I'm a huge fan, and quite happy to say that I'm a huge fan of these cars, regardless of what people think of EVs. Meh. Another thing I think you might see happen is new facelift cars filling up forecourts as Porsche continue to manufacture them. Maybe they don't even have buyers potentially, who knows? But just getting them out there onto the scene, and then you might start to see some price reductions or some more attractive finance offers. So to sum up, the Taycan is a brilliant car, and I think Porsche have a lot to consider right now. It's a stellar example of engineering, but the financial situation that surrounds these cars at the moment puts Porsche in a very precarious position, and it's going to be a very fine balancing act for them right now, understanding just what is the right price point, just how many to make, and just how much to incentivize these, which I think they're going to have to do at some point. But all that remains to be seen. Thank you very much for watching. Do stay safe, stay well. See you on the next one, and bye for now.